Okay, so let's unpack this one. Today, we are looking at a piece of writing that is, I mean, it's incredibly short. We're talking flash fiction territory here.
Okay.
But it somehow manages to do something that, entire novels sometimes fail to do. It maps the intersection of economics, biology, and, well, heartbreak in what, like a dozen lines? The story is titled The Titan Fit of Golden Years.
It is a deceptively simple text. On the surface, it's just a linear story, you know?
Right.
A desire, an obstacle, a resolution, and then a twist.
Mm-hmm.
But when you start to apply a few different lenses to it, sociological, economic, even linguistic, it stops being just a sad story. It becomes really a case study on the poverty of time.
That's it. That's the angle I really want to explore. We so often talk about poverty in terms of what you have or, what you don't have.
Sure.
But this story suggests the real thief isn't the lack of money. It's the distortion of time. So, okay, set the scene for us. What are we working with here?
Okay, so we have a very tight cast of characters, a protagonist, a young girl, a supporting cast, the family, we assume the parents, and then we have an object of desire. The text opens with this very specific and I think slightly unusual wish. It says, the girl wants a belly to wear.
I stopped on that phrasing immediately. A belly to wear. It's obviously not standard American English. In my reading, I assume this refers to billies, which is a common term in Indian English for like ballerina flats,
Yes.
slip-on shoes. He has a very specific aesthetic.
I agree, and I think the linguistics there are really important. The text later spells sandals, S-A-N-D-L-E-S. These little non-standard phrasings, they give the narrator a very specific voice. It feels raw, unpolished.
Yeah, it creates an immediate sense of vulnerability.
For sure. Going back to the belly, this matters because of what that type of shoe represents.
It's not a work boot.
No.
It's not a sneaker for running.
No.
A belly or a ballet flat is. It's a decorative shoe. It's delicate.
Precisely. It's an aesthetic choice. She isn't asking for protection from the elements. She is asking for style. And the text tells us exactly why. It isn't for school. It isn't for walking. It is for her friend's birthday party.
And that context just shifts the stakes completely. If she needed shoes because she was barefoot, that's a survival story.
Yeah,
But she wants shoes for a party. This is about social inclusion.
It's about social capital. In the sociology of childhood, a birthday party is a high-stakes environment.
Okay.
It's where hierarchies are established, where you display your belonging. If you show up looking wrong, or if you don't show up at all because you don't have the right gear, that is a form of social exclusion.
So the girl isn't just asking for footwear. She's asking for a ticket to participate.
Mm-hmm.
She wants to be part of the golden years that are mentioned in the title.
Yeah.
But then we hit the brick wall. The text is very blunt about it. The family is poor and money is hard to come by.
That phrase, money is hard to come by, is doing a lot of heavy lifting. It doesn't just mean they're broke. It implies that the inflow of capital is resistant. It's a struggle.
Right.
In economics, we look at liquidity. How easily can you turn assets into cash? This family has, zero liquidity. Every single dollar requires significant exertion to acquire.
And this sets up the central mechanism of the story. You have a demand, the shoes, and it has a deadline attached to it.
Yeah.
The party.
Yeah.
And you have a supply chain, the parent's income, that is moving incredibly slowly.
Right. And usually in our economic models, when demand meets a lack of supply, the demand is just suppressed. You can't afford it, so you don't buy it. Transaction canceled.
But that's not what happens here.
No. The parents don't cancel the order.
No, they accept the mission. The text says, but still somehow after some time, family is able to save. And that word, somehow, it just stood out to me. It glosses over so much pain.
It glosses over the bandwidth tax. This is a concept from Melanathan and Shafir, who wrote about the psychology of scarcity. They argue that poverty imposes a cognitive tax. You aren't just lacking money. You are constantly processing these trade-offs. If we save this coin, we can't buy milk. If we walk to work, we save bus fare but lose time. That somehow, in this story, that represents all that mental exhaustion.
The logistical gymnastics they're performing every single day.
Every day, just to accumulate this tiny bit of capital.
And it's so interesting that the demand didn't just disappear.
Mm-hmm.
It entered a queue. I think that's a crucial distinction for you, the listener. We assume poor families just go without. This story argues they don't necessarily go without, they just wait in a much, much longer line.
That's a brilliant way to put it. The queue. The demand sits there, pending, and while it's sitting there, the clock is ticking. The text says, after some time. That implies a significant duration.
Oh, yeah.
This wasn't a week of skipping coffee. This was likely months of accumulation.
So we have two timelines running parallel. Timeline A is the accumulation of money.
Mm-hmm.
Timeline B is the biological growth of the girl. And this is a race.
It's a race between economic velocity and biological velocity. And the tragedy is that the parents are running as fast as they can on timeline A, but they can't see how fast timeline B is moving.
Okay, let's get to the moment of purchase. They cross the finish line. The text says the family is able to save and buy the sandals.
Right.
Again, note the spelling, but also there's a shift. She wanted a belly. They bought sandals.
The shift is a bit ambiguous, but I read it as a compromise, between the dream and the reality. Or maybe sandals is just the category the belly shoes fall into. But the key is that the transaction happens. They hand over the cash. They get the box.
In a Hollywood movie, this is the climax. The music swells. The girl gets the shoes. She goes to the party.
Of course.
But here, the purchase is actually a trap.
It's a false finish line. Because while they were so focused on the price of the shoes, they forgot about the nature of the recipient. The text drops the hammer immediately after the purchase. The girl eventually grows up.
Eventually grows up. It sounds like it happened overnight. But in the context of the story, it just implies that the some time it took to save was simply too long.
This is where we see a concept you could call biological inflation.
Oh, interesting.
Think about inflation in an economy, right? Your money buys less over time because prices go up. In this story, the value of the shoes is tied to the size of the foot. As the girl grows, the purchasing power of that specific pair of shoes drops to zero. The parents were saving for a target that was literally moving away from them.
And the target moves fast.
Yeah.
And kids can go through shoe sizes, every few months during a growth spurt?
Exactly. So if it takes you 6 months to save for a pair of shoes, you are betting against biology. You are just hoping the foot stays static while the bank account grows.
But biology doesn't pause for poverty.
It does not.
So now we have to visualize the scene. They bring the shoes home. There's this anticipation.
Yeah.
The parents have likely sacrificed meals, comfort, maybe even dignity to get this money.
Yeah.
They present the gift, and the girl tries to put them on.
And this is the moment of physical resistance. The text just says, and it does not fit. But imagine the sensory details of that.
Ooh.
The foot jamming against the leather, the heel crushing the back of the shoe, the sheer physical impossibility of squeezing the present into the past.
That physical resistance,
Yeah.
that is the tightened fit from the title.
It is, and it's structural irony at its absolute peak. The parents succeeded in the economic task,
They got the money.
but they failed the functional task. It's a classic Pyrrhic victory. They won the battle, but the cost, the time it took, negated the win entirely.
See, I want to challenge the idea of the victory at all, though. Did they really win anything?
Mm-hmm.
The money is gone. The shoes are useless. It feels like a total net loss to me.
Well, let's look at the asset. They own the shoes. Technically, they have an asset.
Okay.
But the utility of the asset is zero. And this brings us back to the party. Remember the catalyst.
The friend's birthday party.
That party is long gone. Even if the shoes fit, the event that sparked the desire has passed into history.
So there are two layers of obsolescence here.
Exactly. First, the social utility is gone because the event is over. Second, the physical utility is gone because the foot is too big.
That's just devastating. Because it implies that for the poor, timing is the ultimate luxury. If you have money, you can buy the shoes for the party. That weekend, you can sync your purchase with the need.
That's it. Wealth is the ability to synchronize desire and acquisition. Poverty forces a desynchronization. You get the thing long after the need has expired.
So let's talk about the girl's reaction. The text doesn't give us her dialogue. It just says, it does not fit. But what is happening in her head?
I think there has to be a profound sense of guilt. We always talk about parent guilt, but consider the child's guilt here. She knows they saved for this. She knows the somehow involved a struggle. And now her own body has betrayed their effort. She grew.
That is such a harsh way to frame it. Her body betrayed the effort, but it's true.
It is.
By simply existing and developing, she nullified her parents' sacrifice.
It creates this really complex dynamic where growth, which should be celebrated, becomes a failure. If only I hadn't grown, this gift would work. It frames the natural process of aging as an enemy of the family economy.
Which leads us right back to that title, the tightened fit of golden years. We established the fit is literal, the shoes are tight, But what about the golden years?
Well, golden years usually refers to a time of ease, right? Childhood or a happy retirement. Here, it's clearly childhood. But instead of being expansive and free, it's tightened.
The economic constraints are squeezing the joy out of the experience.
It's like poverty is acting as a corset around her life. She can't breathe, she can't expand.
And the word choice, tightened. It's active. It's not just the tight fit, it's the tightened fit.
Oh, that's a great point.
It implies a process.
Mhm.
As time went on, the fit got tighter. The longer it took to save, the tighter the years became.
Yes.
I want to zoom out to a bigger psychological concept. We hear so much about delayed gratification. It's preached as this ultimate virtue, the marshmallow test, right? If you wait, you get 2 marshmallows.
Right. This family waited. They practiced extreme delayed gratification.
And they got 0 marshmallows.
Exactly. So what does this story tell us about that concept?
It tells us that delayed gratification only works if the reward remains constant. In the marshmallow test, the second marshmallow doesn't go stale or shrink while you wait. But in real life, especially with things like clothing or opportunities, the reward has a shelf life.
So we need a new term, delayed utility.
Or expired utility.
Yeah.
This story is a warning that if you delay gratification too long, it crosses the threshold and just becomes denial. The window of opportunity closes.
It's the difference between waiting for a meal and waiting so long you starve to death before the food arrives.
Yes, the food is still there, but it's too late.
That makes me think about the sandals as a symbol. In the end, what are they? They are a brand new, unworn object sitting in a poor family's house.
They're a monument to bad timing. They are a physical manifestation of the gap between love and logistics. The love was there, the parents did the work, the logistics failed. It's a museum piece of a failed attempt at upward mobility. Here lie the shoes we almost wore.
And think about the practical aftermath. What do they do with them? Do they sell them? Give them to a younger cousin?
If they sell them, they'd get, what, a fraction of the value back?
Right. So the capital is destroyed. They converted hard-earned cash into an illiquid asset that they can't use. It's an economic disaster for the family unit.
Let's pivot to the friend. The text mentions the friend's birthday party. We never see the friend, we never see the party. But that ghost of a social life is hanging over the whole story.
The friend represents the other side, the people who presumably have the shoes, who attend the party, who live in the golden years without the tightening.
The friend is the control group in this experiment.
Exactly. And the protagonist is the outlier, the one who doesn't fit, literally and metaphorically.
It forces us to ask, what happens to a child's psyche when they realize they're on a totally different timeline than their peers? My friend wants shoes. She gets them. I want shoes. I wait 6 months. That instills a deep understanding of inequality at a visceral level.
And it's so interesting that the story doesn't have a villain. No evil landlord, no mean shopkeeper.
No.
The villain is math. The villain is the rate of saving minus the rate of growth. It's purely structural.
And that's what makes it so hard to fight. You can punch a villain, you can't punch an equation.
You can't punch an equation. That feels like the bumper sticker for this entire deep dive. The parents are fighting a math problem with love, and the math won.
But, and here is where I want to push back a little. Did the math totally win?
Go on.
We're defining value purely as utility. The shoes don't fit, therefore they have no value.
Okay.
But is there a labor value to the gesture?
You mean, does the girl appreciate the hustle?
Exactly. Even if the shoes don't fit, she witnessed the sacrifice. She saw the somehow and the sometime. She saw her parents denying themselves for her.
There's an emotional currency there that doesn't depreciate.
That's a fair point. But it's a complicated currency. It comes with that guilt we talked about.
True.
Look how much we suffered for you is a heavy gift to receive, especially when the box contains something you can't even use.
It is. It's not a pure gift. It's a burden gift. But it might be the only inheritance they can give her. The knowledge that she was worth the effort, even if the result was a failure.
That's a beautiful, if tragic, way to look at it. The inheritance is the effort, not the object.
It reminds me of the concept of potlatch or gift-giving economies, where the value is in the giving, not necessarily the utility.
But in a subsistence context, utility has to matter.
It has to.
You can't wear a sentiment. You need shoes.
Yeah.
This brings me back to the writing style.
It's so sparse.
Wants a belly. Family is poor. Somehow able to save. It feels rushed.
The pacing of the text mimics the pacing of life in that situation. It feels like a run-on sentence because for people in poverty, life is a run-on sentence of problems.
No chapter breaks.
No pause to reflect. It's just problem, struggle, solution, new problem.
And the ending, and it does not fit. It's so abrupt. It denies the reader a resolution. We want them to take the shoes back, get a refund, We want a happy ending.
But the text denies us that because reality denies them that. It leaves us with the unresolved tension. It forces you, the listener, to sit with the discomfort of the wasted time. If the author gave us a happy ending, it would undermine the entire thesis. The point is the loss.
So if we are to distill this down for our listener, someone may be prepping for a meeting on social inequality or just thinking about their own spending, what is the core takeaway?
I think the core takeaway is to recognize that poverty is a temporal condition, not just a financial one. When we look at policies or charity, we often think about amount, give them X dollars. But we rarely think about speed. Assistance that arrives too late is indistinguishable from no assistance at all.
Speed is a vector of value.
Precisely. If we want to help the golden years fit better, we don't just need to provide resources, we need to shorten the queue. We need to align the economic solution with the biological need.
And for the individual listener.
It's a check on our own judgment. When we see someone making what looks like a bad decision or showing up with the wrong equipment or just looking out of place, we need to ask, what timeline are they on? Are they wearing the result of a 6-month struggle that just happened to miss the mark?
It adds a layer of empathy to the observation.
Yeah.
You aren't just seeing ill-fitting shoes. You are seeing a history of struggle.
And it forces us to question our definition of generosity. We often measure generosity by the size of the check. This story suggests we should measure it by the hours of life traded. By that metric, these parents are the biggest philanthropists in the world, even if the shoes ended up back in the box.
That is a profound shift in perspective, measuring generosity by life traded rather than market value.
It raises a provocative question to leave our listeners with today. We talked about the shoes being useless, but imagine 20 years later, the girl is grown. She finds those unworn sandals in a closet. What are they worth then? Are they trash? Or are they the most valuable things she owns because they are fossilized proof of her parents' love?
Does the lack of utility eventually become the point?
Yeah.
The fact that they were never worn preserves the sacrifice in this, pristine state.
Exactly. They become a relic, a sacred object. The utility expired, but the meaning might actually appreciate over time.
That's a thought that's going to stick with me. We started with a girl wanting a belly to wear for a party, and we ended up with a relic of parental sacrifice.
It's quite a journey for a pair of sandals.
Well, that wraps up our deep dive into the Titan fit of golden years. We've explored the bandwidth tax, biological inflation, and the heartbreaking queue of poverty.
Hopefully it changes the way you look at the next pair of shoes you buy and the time it takes to get them.
Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you on the next deep dive.